Um, s- as Ruggiero mentioned, one of the central concerns of this book series is this idea of transmission. And the second book published in the series, Hussam's book on Hadith transmission, which is a very important contribution in comparative Sunni and Shia Hadith studies, focuses on the question of transmission and on whether and on how Sunni and Twelver Shia schools had influenced each other. So, Hussam, a key term in your work is that of confessionalism. And this part of your title, of course. And this term usually carries a negative connotation in the Arabic language. However, the reader will find a different approach in your work. So it would be interesting to many of us if you could speak to this aspect of your study of how you appropriate this notion of confessionalism, but in a positive sense. Perhaps we can even say as a way of celebrating the plurality of scholarly voices in Islamic thought.
As the title of my book said, it's the relation between this transmission and confessionality. And I tried in my work to use the term confessionality in a positive way and not in a negative way, like it's in Arabic. Because in Arabic, we have two different translations for the term confessionality. We can use ta'ifiyya, and this term in Arabic, it's led to sectarian polemics and irrational arguments and criticism of each other just to justify that my confession is the best against the other. But in my work, I tried to use this term of confessionality separate from this negative connotations in Arabic in the meaning of madhabiyya, the belonging to a confessional identity, Sunni or Shia. And in this way, I try to use this term through three lenses in my work. The first one is the term as an epistemological framework for my study, because in my work, I try to show how the confessionality uh, was not a distorting factor for the hadith transmission, but a key factor to understanding for understanding the process of transmission among the Sunni and the Shia, and how the confessionality of the scholar Al-Bukhari on the Sunni side and the Training on the Shia side influence his selecting and collecting and the methodological approach in Hadith criticism and even the interpretation of the Hadith among the Sunni and Shia scholars. The second lens is I tried to use the term confessionality uh, as a description for the dynamic interaction between Sunni and Shia, because it's not just confessionality influence the Hadith transmission, but Hadith transmission and influence or shape the confessional identity or the formation of confessional identity of the scholar. If we see the two books of Bukhari on the play, uh, Al-Bukhari was a Sunni, but Ibn Zudrodi in his book was not just the collecting and the selecting of the hadith which demonstrate the Sunni identity, but he used on the other hand the Sunni the Sunni theological principle of the collective activity of the Sahaba, of the companion of the Prophet, as a main rule for his hadith transmission. On the other hand, if we see the book of Al-Kulaini, he wrote a long chapter in his book about the authority of the imams and their infallibility, so that we can find in his book more than 1,000 hadiths just about the imams and their authority. The third lens is I tried to use this confessionality as a methodological tool. I tried in each chapter to show which relation do we have between confessionality and hadith transmission. In the first chapter, I tried to show that through different examples of the hadith, even if these hadiths are not mentioned in the Bukhari's book or the Klein's book, I tried to show how that confessional identity of the scholars uh, shaped their methodology in hadith authentication and in exegesis of this hadith to justify or to establish the fundamental theological basics for their confessional for their confession. Um, Therefore, I can't say I did that in 100% right way. But I try to see both of the groups from outside as an outsider to compare and to understand the this interaction between confessionality and the hadith spaces.